I'm Michael Torres. I'm the chair and the director of Laney College Theater Arts Department.
I'm Steve Schlusky, the co-chair of the Media Communications Department at Laney College.
Historically, a pandemic would shut down a theater. We wouldn't be able to produce. But because of our today's technology, we were able to meet and rehearse virtually.
Because of COVID, we could not have an audience in the theater, and he still produced a play as if an audience was going to watch it. He ran his actors through the lines and eventually did the whole play with each individual student.
We're a theater department. We normally rehearse on stage and do full productions on stage. And with the pandemic, we couldn't assemble on stage for fear of catching COVID-19.
My name is Alejandro Acosta. I work in the theater arts department at Laney College, and my job is a stage and production supervisor, which is a weird job title. I basically handle all of the technical elements of theatrical productions here. The pandemic forced instruction within the theater arts department into a remote format, and we had to figure out how we were going to do the play. So we reached out to the media department and decided to collaborate on a Zoom version of Macbeth. It would be recorded all on Zoom in front of green screens, and then we would give that footage to media department to edit it together, add in the digital backgrounds and post and all that fancy media stuff.
And anon, methought, the wood began to move.
And because we wanted to somehow present this production in front of the whole school, we decided to put the actors in green screens, and they would perform, and my department, the media department, would edit all the parts together and put things into the green screens. And because we were using Zoom, and Zoom looks like little squares, we thought we would make it look like a graphic novel. And we wanted to use Zoom and make it seem like we picked Zoom in a creative way.
Through conversations with the students, talked about things that they really like these things called zines, which are some like homemade magazines that they place in bookstores and stuff. So then we decided to create something that was sort of graphic novel, sort of zine.
Hi, my name is Mark Razan. I'm a geography professor at Laney College, and I was invited to participate in the online Zoom zine Macbeth as King Duncan, the old guard king who was killed off in the first act.
This castle hath a pleasant seat. The air nimbly and sweetly recommends itself unto our gentle senses.
The wonderful thing about COVID has forced everyone to work together to support the studenthood. And this particular theater production is unique in my estimation because it brings together the theater department, the media department, in my case, the geography department, and many of the students from all different majors. I guess most of them would be theater majors, but a lot of different talents coming together in a Zoom world. The interesting thing for me as a professor is that we've had to adapt to Zoom as our main teaching modality. And so here we find ourselves producing a play which is perfectly situated for our training that we've quickly had to come up to speed in using Zoom. And so a lot of us have become very facile in using Zoom to reach students. And so what better way than to make a play with the students and the professors and all of the actors and all the participants using this new media to sort of create a living document of this time that we're in as it expresses itself through a very interesting avenue called Macbeth.
And with his former title, Greet Macbeth.
I'll see it done.
My name is Susan Bradley. I generally use my middle initial. There are several Susan Bradleys in the Bay Area. I'm a student at Laney Community College in both photography and media communications.
Be large in mirth.
There's a lot of opportunities.
Being invited to edit on this project, the biggest challenge I faced was it was not something that I had done before. That had both positives and negatives. There's a lot of anxiety to make sure that I could produce something that was usable. The positive side, though, was being able to be completely creative and not totally locked down into one person's vision.
There was an idea to bring the departments together to mount a production. In this case, it was Macbeth. Neither one of us had done that before. It opened up the door to even more ideas as to like, what would it be like if part of the college, with interdepartmental cooperation, sort of develop a production, company within, which I think would really accelerate learning experiences.
Well, Laney College basically is vocational and a stepping stone into higher universities, but its primary focus is vocational. So working with another department, that department is our client. So it gives us some real-time abilities, being able to produce, to work on schedules, to know that this isn't just a little homework exercise. This is real time.
So all through this, I was telling Michael that, you know what, you just do what you do. You go ahead and do the play and we'll figure out the technical stuff, because for editors have to figure out a lot of the technical stuff. They need to correct things, make things look better in post. Any problems that are in production, the editors have to work through. This became a real life situation for the media students because they knew what they needed to do. They knew what the concept of the theater department was and what we were trying to do. And they had to work out all of these issues and make it look as reasonably what the director wanted as possible.
The big difference between theater and film, because I've done a little film, I'm primarily a stage actor, but the big difference is really the presence of the camera, which that's big enough, because the theater actor, and the way our actors are trained, is that they use the whole body, facial expressions, to like gesture and tell the stories. And then of course, our language is, sort of picturesque language because we can't always show you everything. Whereas in film, film can. So our scripts are different. Our acting style is, it kind of serves it up a bit more. It's a bit bigger. And what the actors had to learn to do in their rectangles on Zoom was to keep it here, act here. And that, a lot of them wanted to move around. Some of them did move around, but the fight and the struggle was to keep it right here and primarily right there.
I am Christy Sangpulsit. I play Macduff in the play Macbeth.
Tyrant, show your face.
I think it was very different, but this was also my first play with the theater department. So it was what I was not expecting. I wanted to be on the stage, but it was very new to be because the times are changing and you want to stay with the times and be ahead of the trend. So I thought this was really cool too.
Hail, King, for so you are. Behold, where stands the usurper's cursed head.
The only time I got to see my castmates is when they knocked on my door with a mask and delivered a green screen and a costume change. And it's like, oh yeah, you're Miguel. Okay, yeah, you're the card. It's like, oh, so good to see you. Great to meet you. And then it was passing material to me, and then I had to get on my car and take it to the Queen down the street and call her up, meet me on the corner of 5th and Main, and I pass off the goods to them, and it's like, oh, good to see you, bye, and then we see each other here in costume in the 15th century England. So it's fun to play like that.
Projection isn't a thing because since I had a Bluetooth headphone in, so it was the mic, so I didn't have to speak as loud. And then a lot of it was different because we were sitting, but sometimes I would stand too, but then like the sound travels differently. And then you're in your room and not a theater, so the sound doesn't travel.
As an actor in a isolated situation, we don't really feed off of each other's immediacy. So if we were on stage, for example, and we were going to do a production, there would be this huge warm up. We would all be playing backstage. We would be rehearsing our voices. We would be exercising our voices. We would be patting each other on the back and break a leg and getting to know each other and seeing the fine tuningness of our acting abilities. And, you might say, hey, great job, or, you might want to consider going a little slow. You would be a little bit more to reinforce each other. Here, we have this square in which we're looking through, sort of through a glass darkly, and we have to only bring what we can bring. And we can rehearse and rehearse and rehearse, but I can't pick up somebody's cue immediately and either, follow on a beat or cut them off on a beat because I want to say something of very importance. So there's that kind of sequencing that is missing.
It really was a challenge for the media students because the actors were lighting their own green screens, and the lighting was very inconsistent. There were technical issues, there were Zoom issues with audio and so forth. These students are not media students, so whatever complications they had during the shooting of their scenes, we had to correct in post. So not only were we trying to put this play together and fill the green screens and all the little technical things that go with that, the media students had to figure out how to make all this work.
The actors we were working with really had no experience lighting for green screen or lighting themselves or acting on camera. And so there were many little issues we had to work around and problem solve.
Double, toil and trouble, fire, burn, cauldron, bubble.
Of a fenny snake, in the cauldron boil and bake. Eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog, adder's fork and blindward sting, lizard's leg and howlet's wing. For a tall, powerful trouble, like a hell broth boiling bubble.
For the experience of the media students, I wanted it to be as real to a real life situation as possible, but I also wanted them to have as much input as possible and as much creativity. They had to create creative solutions to the technical problems, but I also wanted them to have real creativity in making this look like a graphic novel, making this look like what we were calling a Zoom zine. I had 3 student editors working on this, and I basically edited one of the scenes together and just as a sort of test and showed that to the students. And then every Friday morning we met and we talked about our certain scenes just to keep a certain consistency. But pretty much I wanted students to be thrown into a real world situation, solving real world problems and coming up with real world creative solutions to things.
As a student, I've had the benefit of being able to be mentored by people that are actually working in the real world simultaneously. And so much of what we do as students is kind of theoretical. It's kind of playing in a sandbox. And so I go back to what I said earlier is where we're talking was that this actually gives the students the opportunity to be able to produce something in real time. Mm-hmm. It's practice that's at another level. It's a higher level.
The theater students feel, and they're trained, and this is why I think a lot of them go to work. I've had to get them to focus to transfer because they started working. And I was like, this is good that you're working, but you need to transfer. Is that we have a net because it's school, thinking about like trapeze artists and stuff like that. We have a net, but our net is like half a centimeter off of the cement. It's like, you need to feel the sting, you need to know how to learn to take failure and turning it into a learning lesson, that it's not actually really failure, that it's an opportunity to grow. And you got to feel it. And the way you do it is like you put everything on the line here and really working on a hands-on project, which I remember, Susan, you and Emilio talking about how much more you had learned about your craft. Well, I mean, because you were doing it, and and you had to learn to improvise. What's the stuff with the tools that you learned in the classroom, which is, I mean, that's really great classroom stuff, because you wonder, why am I learning this in the classroom, right? And then you go, oh, that's why I learned it in the classroom.
Insofar as interdepartmental cooperation is concerned, the hit has always been that we're siloed. I'm in the A quad, the theater's in the C quad, the math's in the F quad, and we may see each other passing at the parking lot and greet each other that way. Here we can meet in a virtual classroom, really without leaving our silos, but we can transport our minds, our voices, and our creative energies in this direction. And so what it really takes is a visionary to call us all together with a common purpose. We always get together with other departments at department chair meetings. Well, that's not necessarily creative, but to take the best that we have to offer and use different aspects of the vast pool of creativity that Laney College has is a way of sort of decanting it in the Zoom world. And it is rife for opportunities. When I heard this was going to be a Zoom zine, sort of a magazine on Zoom, well, we're all used to Zoom, and it's kind of going to be tedious. But to think we're acting and creating together really institutes new life to it. And I jumped on this thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be a brand new focus type media delivery that's never going away. And we have the chance to sort of be on the cutting edge of creating this vision.
This became exciting, and the students really, really, really dug the idea because, well, they're into zines. We're on Zoom, and it's something that's new to them. I've done a couple of streaming shows, so it's not exactly new, but still fairly new to me.
So I got to see the final product when it was done, and I thought it was really exciting. Everything transitioned a lot smoother than I thought, since the Zoom lag was affecting a portion of it. Because when I watched my part, I was like, no, let's just fast forward. But I was like, I need to watch it for like my own improvement. Another classmate's boyfriend said it was a fever dream, and another one's niece said it was like Game of Thrones. I thought it was really interesting. I also thought it was very dreamlike, like very magical, but like, it's Macbeth, so it's medieval kind of vibe.
Being able to be avant-garde, cutting edge was the biggest thrill of it all. One of the drawbacks, though, was the more I edited, the more I watched the footage, the more ideas I got. So by the end, I almost wish we were starting over again, just to be able to put all those new ideas into place. I'm a big believer in interdepartmental cooperation. There are times where we could come together on larger projects if we knew that the other department existed.
I definitely think it's better if more departments can get together, because art as a career, you kind of need Alejandro said it too, where you kind of need your toes in like every pool, and then you need to be really flexible. So I think it's just like, I have experience this one, I can do this and get more experience, and then you have more options moving forward. And then maybe you like something else more than what you were doing, so then you can go further into that.
I think it's really important to have these two departments work together. We work pretty much out of the same space. The theater and Laney College, the theater space is downstairs in the theater, and the media students are upstairs, but we never really work together. And because of Zoom, because of the creative thinking of how to make this as normal as possible, we had to come together and and work out all these little details.
The hope is that students who came to Laney to be either in the theater arts department or in the media department will get to see how the other departments run. An actor might become interested in cameras or the technical aspects of film, and likewise, a student who came to Laney to make film or learn about media might see the theater arts department and be interested in live performance.
This has been such a good collaboration between our two departments, and something that, as a media professor in this department, something that we always have a hard time finding good actors to act in our student productions. And so I've been wanting this relationship for a long time. COVID has really given us a situation where we were forced into this. And the solution has been so good. We've continued this with a new play in the fall 2021 semester.
The evolution of this relationship is that we're leaving Zoom, because one of the drawbacks of being on Zoom is that we're not always in control of who deletes stuff. We lost 5 scenes in the Macbeth project because someone deleted and we couldn't go back and get them. So that was a loss. That won't happen in this next phase of our experiment and our relationship, because it will all be filmed on our stage.
Disbelieved. Scene 5, take 1, camera 2.
And so we'll have better control over the scenes, and we'll have stronger slating. It'll be more specific that way, and better tracking of the scenes. So I think that is a huge improvement, is that we won't lose a scene, and that we'll be better organized. Also, not restricted to rectangles. We'll have the camera, of course, and then we'll be working on a minimalist set on a huge stage, and where we'll see the actors with full body, and with close-ups. We'll be experimenting with this hybridity sort of theatrical filmic way of acting, and we'll figure that out all Johnny on the spot when we're like, filming, what needs to be predominant, in that moment. Is it a little bit more theater, or is it a little bit more film?
We're really engaging in this in an intentional way, looking to learn from interacting as disciplines and attempting to build future projects organically based on what we learn from our collaboration.
One of the things that's coming out of this is that now Michael Torres, who's always been a theatrical director, is learning more about directing for the camera. There is a very big difference between directing for the camera and directing for the stage. And he's going to start integrating into his class both techniques, so that his students will be better rounded when it comes to acting. They can act on stage or they can act in front of the camera, and it won't surprise them when they get into that situation. So he's expanded his curriculum to include camera, and we're certainly expanding our solutions to getting more professional actors in our student productions. So the relationship between the two departments, as natural as it seems, is now just taking hold, and we're hoping for great things in the future.
I am absolutely thrilled and honored to be part of this. I'm so happy I get to continue with it. Let's do more every semester.